Okay, everybody out there, you may have already heard me, but we are here. I didn't have a microphone. We got to all have those. Um, we are here for Coffee Conversations on the soundstage at MetalCon, sponsored by Sherwin-Williams and the MetalVue program. And we have leading experts here today, and we're going to be talking about everything you can imagine on trends, what's happening in the metal industry. So let's get started. Okay, my friends, we're going to try this a second time. We're going to make it happen. What I'd like to do is we're just going to go around the table, and I'd love you to introduce yourself, tell us about your company, and then we'll get going on some of these hot questions. So, Anthony, you want to start us out?
Yeah, sure. Awesome. Hey, Anthony Ortega with Biotel Metal Concepts. We are a roofing and metal envelope company in Salt Lake City, Utah. Excited to be here, and thanks for the time.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I brag about your roofs all the time. They are so beautiful.
We
I'm
appreciate
just
that.
telling you. Louise, please introduce yourself.
As long as you use Sherwin paint,
Always.
we're good to go. So, I'm Luis Sanchez. I work for Sherwin-Williams in Mexico. I take care of the business in Mexico, Central America, and part of US, except one customer. So anyway, yeah, we do all kinds of coatings, especially for construction, coil coatings. So yeah, we
That's
do
awesome.
every technology available.
It's so great to have you here. Thank you. And you came on a little bit last minute. So I wanted to tell you, we really appreciate you having. I'm excited to really have the perspective of what's happening in Mexico and Latin America. So important. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great. Chandler.
Yeah, so my name's Chandler Barden. I'm the president of Sedan Machinery. We make machines that cut form sheet metal for roofs or walls and different architectural metal products. I think I'll mention it also because I think it'll come up in the conversation. I'm also heavily involved in the MCA, the Metal Construction Association, and I serve as chair on that association currently.
Yeah, doing some great work. Thank you.
Thank you
so much. Nigel.
Yeah, Nigel Kreff, VP of Sales at Elevate Structures. We're a nationwide provider of storage facilities, hotels, multifamily, student housing. We have a proprietary light gauge system we call Alpha Framing, which is taking the market by storm. And we're based in Atlanta. We're a division of Central States, which has a manufacturing group that uses Sherwin-Williams colors. I don't know that they use Cadian benders, but we are part of that group, manufacturing, vertically integrated from the mill through manufacturing, construction, engineering, and field services.
That's excellent. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. And I want to start out with really just kind of talking about where we're at in the MetalCon show, what we're seeing on the show floor, what we're hearing. So, Nigel, I'm going to start with you. You've been able to walk around, you got your booth. What are some of the hot things that you're seeing on the show floor and that have really caught your interest? And how's it been so far?
Yeah, it's been good. So for me, first time visiting MetalCon in 30 years, probably have known about it. So
Wow.
I appreciate the invite. It's been good. What's really struck me being on the construction side of it is really the diverse product offerings. So roofing types, sheet metal types, colors, finishes, all that sort of stuff. The industry has really evolved into a more mature palette and colors and stuff like that. And I think some of the stuff that is out there is really cool. Now acceptance is another thing, but there's a lot of cool product offerings, and I think that's really unique.
Yeah, it's really, there's so much out there for all parts, for your whole business. As a contractor or builder or erector, there's really everything you need is out here on the show floor. Chandler, both, what are you seeing, but also what are you hearing in your booth? Because, man, you've got a beautiful booth over there.
Well, thank you. Yeah, number one, I think this MetalCon has been a great show overall, not just for Sedan, but just for the industry. I was happily surprised showing up here on Sunday during setup, and I actually just went around the front of the show and saw, there's a lot of equipment as it usually is, and
Yeah.
The equipment manufacturers are bringing a lot of automation in, and which is a trend I'm sure we'll get into later. But what is more impressive to me in this show is the not only the size of the booths, but also the depth of the show. So it seems like, good for us at Sedan Machinery, but some people say it's a machinery show
Yeah.
where it's walking around when you sure the machines are here and that's great, but when you walk around, you see a lot of the other booths active. Actually, when I was looking around for this booth, I was in the wrong area walking around, and it was happy. MCA's partners with MetalCon, so I was happy to see the other booths, packed and people talking and catching up and
Yeah.
networking. And one of my favorite parts about MetalCon too is I've been coming for the last a little different than you. I've been coming for the last 14 years. Um, so it's a growing industry, but it's also great to see the familiar faces and your friends and catch
Yeah.
up and meet new people as well. So,
It's like walking into your high school reunion sometimes. I feel like you
yeah.
see everybody,
Except you can never get out of high school. You're always
Yeah,
stuck
you're
here.
always coming back every year. I love it. Louise, what have you seen?
Well, as Chandler said, there's a lot of offering, machinery, construction, obviously paints,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of questions that a lot of customers come in because they might not know all the things we have to offer. What that actually needs, and you gotta explain to a lot of people all the options that you can offer
Right.
in every business. So it's been very good. Yeah.
It's really is about every part of your business.
Yeah.
It's not just a machine or a product. It's about everything, and no one would know that better than you, Anthony. So I think everybody wants to know between you and Nigel, what are you looking for, and what's catching your eye?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's a little unique for us because we're coming in and as the installers, as the one providing the end product, right? And we always love coming to MetalCon because we get to see all the fun toys.
Yeah,
We're like, oh, what can we do with that?
love
And
it.
oh, what if we did this? And so that's really exciting for us to come down here and see what we are seeing in the field and then connect it with great suppliers to figure out if there's a solution out there for our clients or a better way to do it, a way to optimize. Metal's hot right now. There's a ton of stuff going on in the industry. And then coming to MetalCon, you're drinking from a fire hose a little bit, but it's great to get exposed to everything. So, from coatings to machinery to
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just a really great opportunity to take those things, digest it, and see what you can bring back to your clientele for us.
Right, right. And I know when you and I were visiting earlier, one of the things that you had mentioned, and I was like really caught on to, is you couldn't believe how much technology was on the floor. Let's kind of go there on the questions and talk a little bit about technology, not just software, but automation. What we're seeing, I mean, with the machinery, with technology, and with some of the products, it's wild. So, what are some of the things that have caught your eye that might be heading back with you to Park City?
Yeah, so for us, like innovative products are probably the forefront of what we're looking at, different ways to deliver high-end materials that deliver on spec and design intent and execution for us in the field.
Yeah.
And then, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, labor in the market and that skilled labor. We're looking for efficiencies in the fabrication side of things. We're looking for efficiencies and fun toys for the guys
Yeah.
to be able to be craftsmen,
Mhm.
right? And if you get a guy a tool that you picked up here, they just love it and they're like, oh
Ah,
my god, this is
yeah.
the best thing ever. And so those are really the things that we're looking at from an installer point of
Yeah.
view.
Yeah.
Uh, just those innovative products and then tools and efficiencies in high-end machinery that can help us deliver better for our clients.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm hearing a lot too. It's efficiencies. I mean, we don't have as much skilled labor. It takes longer to get the labor. We're bringing the young next generation in. They know technology, and so if you can bring that in and start working that along with the craftsmanship, it's going to make a difference for our future workforce.
Oh yeah, 100% for sure.
Yeah. Um, what are you seeing on around technology?
Well, Sherwin really invest a lot of money in innovative to grow in new ways and know what the end user necessities are. So
Mhm.
we invest a lot in innovation and and other requirements that customers might have. Yeah, it's very important for us.
Well, and this Coffee Conversations is being sponsored by Sherwin-Williams and MetalVue, and the MetalVue program. We just had a whole thing on it yesterday, so everybody can watch it. But that's the kind of with Roofing Passport. That's the kind of technology that's
Right.
coming in to make it easier to be able to bid, get measurements, quote, and work those jobs through. So
Customer focused.
yeah, customer focus. Chandler, what's cool and new technology wise over there with the machines? And what do you and not just I want to hear what you guys have, but also what you're seeing around the show floor.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would agree with what's been said so far, that there is more technology at this show than I've seen at past metal cons. And I think part of it is due to the labor force, right? I think that there's a change in the labor force where, and not just labor, but also the attendees here, whether they're grooming a successor for their company to take over, or they're bringing in a younger generation to implement technology. You kind of see that shift in general.
Yeah.
As far as the machines go, at our booth, we're of course focusing on automation because of the labor problems, but we're also understanding that we need to be conscious over the technology, the controls, and everything of how you're going to run these machines. You know, automation's great, but it's like a multi-axis Fanuc or ABB robot. That takes a very strong skill labor to program and to teach how to manipulate parts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where as a machine manufacturer, especially in this industry, what we need to pay attention to is we can't make it so complicated. So we have to make it user friendly, but also have the ability in the control system to really manipulate the machine. And so the operator's in charge of the machine, not the machine in charge of the operator,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a balance,
Very
right?
true.
It's a strong balance between bringing in technology and um, making it user friendly. I mean, just like your iPhone or your
Yeah.
your whatever phone you use. A handful of years ago, you had the old BlackBerry, and it was clunky, it was difficult to navigate, but it was the best thing then.
Right.
And then you make it more user friendly, and then it becomes the norm. So I think we're in that kind of balance there.
Yeah, I think that's key. The intuitiveness
Yeah, that's
of
a
the
good word for it. Yeah.
machines
Yeah.
is it's folks and suppliers that figure that out for us. It's like game changing, right?
Okay.
And so if you make it easy to use, but it there's this blend of the craftsman creating parts and doing that, and then you've got this technology side of it, and they have to be intuitive together really
Right.
to execute what you're trying to do out there for sure.
Yeah. I think that's key, and it's generational too, right? Because we have all the generations are out there in the workforce. Some are more intuitive to technology, some are not, and so
Yeah, the new generation doesn't like inefficiency, it seems. They get pretty frustrated
yeah.
with
Yeah.
that. So, if you got some old machines and you're like, "Oh, why do I got to do this, that, or the other this way?" So the innovation part of it to make it easy and intuitive is key for sure.
Really
Yeah,
important.
the younger generation, I think for sure, is looking to make their lives easier, right? So we have younger people inside our ESOP, inside our group that bring stuff to the table every day, and we're like, oh yeah, that's a far better way to skin the cat,
Yeah.
right? So the complexity levels that you put into automation, you have to manage the complexity level based on ease of use, because your phone is the easiest thing and most intuitive thing that people use now. That's what the younger generation, I think, really expects everything to operate like. If you can't open it with a thumbprint, press a button, and for it to do the work for you, you've over. It's too complex to be used, And
Right.
so there's a scale in there too for automation, which is extremely important. But yeah, I think kids nowadays sound like a boomer, but kids nowadays are just looking. They're always looking for It sounds terrible, but the easiest path. But it's not a terrible thing. They're just looking for the most efficient way to do the task. It's like dialing up Google or ChatGPT. There's the answer. Now I can move forward. It's not how I got the answer. Here's the answer you were looking for.
Right.
The classic question you get from some of the younger generation, I mean, even the new people we're bringing in is, well, why do you do it that way? Why don't you do it this way? I don't know. You're stuck in that. Yeah, it's because it's always been that way.
It's amazing how that in one hand you're like, well, just do it. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, it's like, man, that really helps be a catalyst to push your business towards greater things. So
Right.
it's like, no, you said, I sound like a boomer and just do it our way. But then it's like, oh, wow, that's actually pretty good. We need to,
Yeah.
we need to grab onto that and really use it. And so, yeah.
And let them run, because that's fresh eyes, right? And they're
Yep.
seeing it. Now, one of the things that I haven't been on around the whole show floor, but I'm interested in what you have to say. And Nigel, I'm going to start here with you. Is I'm not seeing much here around robotics, drones. A couple years ago, I think we had more drone things here. So I don't know if any of you have seen anything like that, but last year at World of Concrete, we saw all kinds of robotics and drones and all those kind of things, but it doesn't seem to have hit the metal as fast.
Yeah, I think on our side of it, solving the robotics problem, which is solving a labor problem, is a bigger challenge. There are so many nuances to what's done on a daily basis that I don't know how that manipulation inside robotics happens. So to Anthony's point about creating craftsmen, you can have robotics do simplified tasks, create simplified shapes, whatever. You're really using software and robotics in your machine, I guess. Really, it's a robot making a
That's true.
a widget. But yeah, how do you get it to plumb a column, screw it off? How do you get it to pour concrete? How do you get those things to do? You can use automation, robotics, exoskeletons, that sort of stuff to make the ease of work, to make it easier to work.
Yeah.
Right. But I think there will always be a need for the human interaction to make it a timely decision. So for us, if we're building a 7 or 8 or 9-story building, we can use the technology that's available to keep it plumb, level, and square. Right. And we can use robotics to lay things out, like mark things out on slabs. How do you translate that into the physical labor of moving stuff around, making on-time decisions, making good life safety decisions, right? Because you have to know the full spectrum of what's going on. So yeah, if drones for us, we use them all the time for marketing and project flyovers. We use Autodesk Construction Cloud. That is our management software where you can input the plans onto your iPad and you can take it to a job site and you can see the connection in real time.
Nice.
So you see the plan and you can see the actual.
Yeah.
But translating that into like fully robotic building is a really interesting question. And then how do you do it? It has its applications in some stuff, maybe concrete or 3D printed houses.
Yep.
But how do you convert that into something that's on a larger, grander commercial scale for us?
And it's moving so fast.
Yeah, I think the convergence of technology and what we're doing in metal, there's crazy amounts of technology in coatings. There's crazy amount of technology in like forming metal. I think it just looks different than in some other industries, right? And you're like, oh, we're not, robotic and AI and this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, no, we've got a ton of enhancements in technology, and we're using technology that fits, what the industry is doing. And I think there's a beautiful catalyst or opportunity for that because, there's this, oh, hey, robots are going to take our work away and, all of that. But here in this industry, in the metal industry, young folks who can take this technology and run with it, like there is unlimited opportunity for folks to do big things here. And I think it's awesome.
I think
no
that's
doubt.
cool.
Industry wide, I hazard a guess we're probably one of the only construction companies in the country that has a research and development department, right? But research and development for us is the integration of all the things that are available. AI, engineering programs. How do we speed up certain facets of what we're doing? Can we can we find something and put that into our manufacturing group to help us? It might be more laborious or more work on their end, but maybe there's a savings further down the chain for us.
Yeah.
Can we get a better coating on a material so we can give a better finished product warranty, which gives us a lever that no one else has in the game as well? So all these things, I don't think it's a singular thing. We use a homogenous word like AI or robotics or technology, but it's multifaceted, and being able to bring all that together like young folks can now and using it and run with it is how we change the game. And construction, especially for us, is notoriously slow to change. So at Anthony's point earlier, those that win the game now will win the game in the future as well, and you've got to be on top of it.
Yeah.
And for example, making paint, it's always been a hands-on process, right? But we're also always looking for new ways and new technology to produce paint faster and more automatically. And also, for example, we have customers that we put machines in their site almost automatically, produce paint at their site, and deliver faster and have better service. So yeah, we technology is a big thing today.
Yeah. How it's delivered, it doesn't all look the same, but it's all there and it's all happening as we go through. And this kind of leads me to what we're seeing and what we're hearing a lot on the coffee shops is just some of the trends of within metal, and especially residentially, but it's also architectural and commercial and all of those too. But we are seeing huge amounts, obviously, with all the different colors, all the different patterns, the different profiles. I mean, there's just so many more choices. What are you hearing from your customers on wanting things, metal siding, board and bat, all of those different kinds of products?
Yeah, I think there's a huge architectural design intent push, at least where the market that I'm serving in Park City, that is pushing for metal, and it is almost like a non-starter. Like, we are doing metal, and we're going to do metal here, here, and here, and it's really trying to achieve what the architects are out there pushing, right?
Yeah.
And metal's come so far in what the coatings can do, the patterns that they can do it
Yeah.
in, and it's given like a runway for these architects to just come up with like these beautiful designs and these beautiful things, and they're looking for sustainability. They're looking for something that's gonna last, test the a test of time.
Yeah.
And metal can deliver that, and do it in ways, whether it's aluminum plank or whether it's ACM, aluminum composite material,
Yeah.
your standard 24 gauge metals, right? The things that are being requested of and pushed is there's a lot of innovative products right now in metal. So that's what we're seeing a lot of.
It seems like the insurance companies, the extreme weather, that's all starting to really come together and push the metal narrative also.
Yeah, we're seeing wild urban interfaces.
Yep.
Right. The fire ratings.
Yeah.
We're doing a home in a neighborhood, and their business design consultant, like the construction consultant, was, this is a non-starter. We are doing Class A rated materials on this house. It's going to be fireproof, and the assemblies are going to be required to be fire rated. And it's huge right now, not just in California, and not in just some of these areas that are seeing wildfires, obviously in those areas, but
Right.
Insurance companies, I think that there's programs out there that are really flipping the residential market to go metal. There's big incentives for homeowners for longevity, sustainability, to go metal.
Energy efficient coatings, for example, it's big, not only in the U.S. but all throughout America, South America, Central America. It's a big thing. Energy efficient coatings, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
As they're going through.
Yeah, the sustainability game is huge. Obviously, the environmental impacts are known coast to coast and everywhere in between as well. But sustainability, lead accreditation for us commercially is a big play. So having a 95 or 97% recycled material going into the building, 100% non-combustible, changes the game when you're looking for those types of accreditations as well. And then, on Luis's side, I remember when it was R panel and you got a standing seam roof with Kynar with a color palette that had like 4 colors on it. That was it.
Yeah.
But the industry has recognized that that's not where it needs to go. And it's moved from, a barn in the backyard to high-end roofing and cladding and,
Right.
board and batten cladding with timber, lines on it. And it's really, really changed. And I think that's a testament to, industry groups pushing hard to be recognized that it's not just a commercial product, there's a residential application for it. And then the consumer sees the benefit on the insurance side. For us, the customer sees builders' risk dropping by 30 or 40 or 50%, when they're building a building in metal over wood. So combined, all these things are really making a huge difference, and it's an easy push, and it's easy to push metal into an area that perhaps wasn't going to be used before because of historical indifference. And now all of a sudden you have these options, and it opens people's eyes, and people are really accepting of it.
It's making a difference. What are you hearing from your contractors out there on that, on sustainability, on the resilience, all of the trends? I mean, because you've had to incorporate so much of that.
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One on the sustainability, or they've kind of transitioned to resilience now, right? Resilience is the new sustainability, and it makes sense, right? It does. The resiliency of metal is it has a lot of advantages, and the MCA has been really pushing that. And we actually, we're lobbying down in Florida to get on to some insurance forms to be, a discounted material for insurance premiums for homeowners down there, right? And then you hear more and more stories about HOAs around the country where people are saying, no, I'm not going to put another asphalt shingle roof on my home because it's a risk for me. And here's why. And they put a roof, and then typically, boom, all of a sudden more metal roofs pop up, right? So that's really good on the resiliency of the sustainability side for metal. And I agree, we have, the industry has a lot of momentum there. From the design aspect, which was brought up, it puts a lot of demand on the machines, right?
Yeah.
It's fun. That's where, I mean, at the end of the day, how many years we've been coming here making the average, basic flush wall panel or the basic, just edge trim and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now people are coming to us with unique details and saying, hey, how do you do this? And we're sitting there scratching our head, and we're pushing the limits on our machines, and we're going back and looking at the geometry of our machines and trying to figure out how to give more free workspace without, sacrificing robustness of the equipment. So that's really fun, and it's really taken off. I mean, if you were to see the profiles we're doing at the booth, it's exactly what you said. Years ago it was 4 or 5 colors. Now it's vibrant colors. It's the wood grain colors. It's the printed or the wood grain materials. It's the printed materials, and that's just opening up more and more possibilities for architects to be creative and spec metal on buildings.
Yeah.
I think that's funny that he brings that up. Shout out to my business partner Gonzalo.
Right over there.
He's running around to each one of the machine vendors,
Yeah.
and he's like, "All right, make this profile for me." And he's
it happens all the time.
And he's pushing these guys. Be like, "All right, who can make it best? Who can get the angle right?"
If it's really difficult, he'll take the piece. He'll say, "Hey, can I take this home?" He really just runs over to the next machine.
All right, it's your turn. Try this.
Somebody else in the building.
Sedan says they can do it. Can you?
So we say, shit, if somebody else did it, we got to do it.
So it's the same thing, because the complexity of some of those shapes that were being bent were impressive. I haven't seen sheet metal being bent for a while. And, it used to be a corner or a piece of
crazy
trim or whatever. Now the shapes are it's incredible, the technology, and it's fully automated too. It's really cool to watch.
And it speaks to those craftsmen, those guys that have been in the game, and they're like, all right, I can do this by hand, but now they're like, no, the machines should do it. Like, let the robots do it. So.
Let's figure out who's going to be first to the game to be able to do this. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, architects also are like pushing the envelope. They're pushing you on design and how they want it. You're seeing it, and I think that it's just kind of going all the way through.
Yeah, design and then obviously meeting, required energy codes and stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? So you talk about, insulated metal panels, those types of things, or how do you do multi-layer insulation in roofs in order to get to the correct R values commercially? How do you get continuous insulation through the exterior of a building to meet the correct R values? So yeah, so there's the envelope's been pushed. I think it's the design stuff is kind of cool. Typically, architects have their own way and their own sort of want and what they want it to look like, but actually being able to take that concept and actually executing it is a whole different story. So you can't do it without the combination of the machine and the colors and the coatings and the craftsmen. It can't be done. But I think everyone's up to the challenge, and it's really cool to watch that happen. And that's why you see such a diverse, palette of colors and materials being used now.
Yeah.
Because someone went, well, I can do that, or I can break that
I can do it.
Right.
and then I'll give you the advantage to go out into the market and push it out into the market with us.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's it grows the industry, right?
Yeah.
It just the possibilities get that much further and further along, and all of a sudden, there's more companies, right? There's more.
Right.
There's more, and the pie's getting bigger and bigger, which is super fun to see.
Yeah, what we're seeing, kind of echo what Niall was saying, is architects are leaving a lot of, they're doing the design intent and they're saying this is what us and the client want, and they're putting the pressure on the industry, from coatings to machinery to installers, to say, make it happen. Like, how are you going to make it happen?
Yeah.
This is what I want to achieve. And it's
Wrong
much
or right, by the way.
Yeah, hey. Love the
Possible or
arts.
not, they
Love
just
the
do it.
architects. We're here for you. But yeah, they're putting a lot of pressure on every aspect of the industry to deliver.
For sure. And the one that produces faster or takes the new color faster will get the business. So it's a matter of velocity and how fast you can bring their needs up,
Right.
Well, it's the old adage that competition breeds excellence, right? So if the guy
That's
next
right.
door to you has already done it and you've got to leapfrog him to do the next thing that's required, it just makes you better anyway.
Right.
So more people, more competition, big picture, it's good for the industry. In your daily business, it makes it tougher, of course, but that's what helps improvement, and that's what strives for excellence is competition.
Competition is health. It's health for everyone. It's healthy.
Yeah. One of the things, and I want to kind of take this line of thought we're talking about and kind of put it to the full building, because we have on the floor, we have a full barnuminium that was put together here by MetalCon team and MCA. It's awesome, but it's brought up a lot of conversation, a lot of topics, and I think, Nigel, this totally goes with you, in that the design community is looking for solutions for the whole building to be resilient, to be able to be price effective, to be able to be constructed and installed quickly, to kind of solve some of the problems. And it seems like, we won't even go into the big custom barnuminiums and the huge buildings that are going on, but just kind of as an overall industry solution. Are you kind of seeing that same thing?
Yeah, obviously economics is one, right? So price point's a player, but, speed to market, right? So in the markets we're in, hyper competitive markets, so it's all about speed to market. Who can design fast enough, who can fabricate quick enough, and who can build it, and who has a solution to do those things and bring it together in a package.
Right.
And then when you're talking about how do you integrate a non-combustible material like steel or metal, and then how do you meet the required energy efficiencies as well, right? Then how do you get the look, and then how do you place that all together? But, for us, on the commercial side, we don't do on the residential side like Anthony, but the commercial side, it's all about schedule compression. How quickly can this building be built? How quickly can the investor or the REIT or the investor group get a return on their investment and then move on to the next one?
Yeah.
And so you've got to be able to work in tandem with all the partners inside your vertical to bring all that together to make it work, to have a predictable outcome for the customer.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's so, are you to that point on the the buildings overall as metal forming is coming together. And I may not, forgive me on my ignorance on this, but it seems like there's going to be a big push on the equipment to form the buildings, the whole 9 yards of everything that's going on with metal buildings as they continue to be into high rises, hospitality. It's not your barn as much. I mean, I know it hasn't been for a long time, but it seems like there's a lot going on in that direction. What are you seeing from equipment side of it?
As far as for
Just new types of forming, like
Yeah.
new types of using metal in the built environment in
Yeah.
new and different ways.
So the use of the metal for our machinery is largely the same. It's just the details are getting more advanced or more unique and
Yeah.
custom, right? And that's what you see a lot of. But it goes. The equipment also is, you know, other parts of the construction industry are moving towards metal, right? That's been a theme of our conversation here.
Yeah.
Is they're moving towards metal, and a lot due to the prints and everything, which I think is a good thing. And you see more and more equipment trying to increase the speed that which, not fully custom wall panels are going out, but like with these printed material or these printed features on metal, that flush wall panel or board and batten panels are becoming big. Flush wall panels are becoming big for
Okay.
on-site roll forming, right? People want to roll them right there, and they want to
Right.
be able to install it right on the building because it's the speed to completion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. In the old days, it used to be how did you go faster in construction? You just threw more labor at it,
Yeah.
right? Well, now you got to look at the whole chain holistically, and where is the improvement? So
Right.
everybody has a piece inside that chain, right? So the complexity of construction, when you think about how many people are involved in creating a finished product, there's thousands and thousands of people. It's the old story about the lead pencil, right? How many people does it take to make a lead
Yeah.
pencil? Thousands of people. Construction's the same way, but you need to be able to get efficiencies in design, efficiencies in manufacturing. I can't wait 12 weeks to get a product. I'm
Right.
going to be ready for it in 6. You guys figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah.
I don't want blue. I want my special blue. Don't tell me how to make the baby. Just give me the blue I want, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And so everyone is leaning into putting pressures inside the system and everywhere up and down the chain. And you got to be efficient. You got to be fast. You got to be nimble. You got to be able to move to what the market's requiring. And if your partners in the system can't do that, then someone else is waiting, ready to do it for them.
Right. As they come through. Wow. Okay, let's shift, and I hope the noise. We might be hearing some things. There's some awards going on over there, but we're going to keep going here. So I want to talk a little bit about economy. So, the word of the year, I think, this year has been uncertainty. Everyone keeps saying that. It's just we're uncertain about what's going to happen. We had some great podcasts from Sherwin-Williams on tariffs and what's going on there. So I just kind of like to, what are you seeing in your market going into Q4, the fourth quarter, and kind of looking at 2026? Anthony, let's start with you.
Yeah, so there was MetalCon today opened up with an economic outlook and spoke about labor. It was a great session. I think his name is Alex.
He's so good. He's so
Get out of the
good.
park. He was
Yeah.
here last time, so he was good, and he,
Yeah.
he really shed a lot of light on where things are at and really what's kind of dragging down the market as a whole is you've got this pent up demand and you've got people that are like pausing and waiting for whatever's going to happen to let happen. And so they're seeing that the inflation is kind of actually not as crazy as it was, which is opposite of what you're hearing on the news, right? Everybody's like, oh my gosh. And he brought up some really great statistics and really talked about it. But it's looking like the market's kind of coming in flat.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just a very interesting point, the way that he chopped up all these numbers to really give you perspective on where it's at. One thing he made clear and was like, hey, if you're going to take anything from the session, is contractors and folks that are investing now and are being responsible to their business now are going to benefit when things shift,
Yeah.
and there will be a shift. And
Yeah.
so I thought that was super insightful.
That's
Anthony,
good.
what did he have to say on the labor topic? I wasn't able to attend. I was in another seminar, but
Yeah, the labor market's hot, right? Like it's hard for skilled craftsmen like to get them. We're seeing that in our business where we've got this tremendous growth and all these great things, but we need to backfill it with good labor, guys that are one skilled and are ready to work. The labor market is about retaining talent right now is really what his message was,
Yeah.
and that's going to help accelerate your business when things shift. Is that there's this focus on talent retention. Unemployment's like less than 4%. I think it's
Right.
3% or something. But if you and he broke down uh, the segments in like finance, management, etc., and those unemployment rates are actually even lower. So, like the churn or the turnover there is much lower. So there's this pressure to kind of like, hey, if you don't retain your talent, and if you're not being competitive, if you're not providing a good work environment and providing a path of success for folks, honestly, there's other people out there that will.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I exactly what we're hearing. What are you hearing? I mean, and a little bit in Mexico and in Latin America, in the U.S.
Of course, as you all know, that the US and Mexico are partners. And now with the tariffs, the situation has been very, very difficult for all of us.
Yeah.
Mexico, the economy in Mexico is really struggling because of the situation. In our case, we do a lot of business to the US. I mean, the coil coaters in Mexico export or used to export a lot of coated steel to the US, but not anymore, obviously, because they have 50% tariffs.
Yeah.
So all this is focused on increasing domestic economy. You know, US wants to do its own necessities. Now Mexico has to focus on increasing their own domestic economy. Now Mexico is implementing tariffs to other countries. Didn't used to do that,
Yeah.
and the same is happening to Latin America in whole. So it's been hard. Business has been slow in that case, but well, we're trying to get more business out of wherever it's possible. So we need to maintain a good communication, a good relationship with the customers to get any opportunity that there's available.
Right. Right. Tariffs, economy.
So I would agree with the uncertainty, of course. Historically, you look back and everybody would poke at the U.S. government for how slow they were to act, right? And this year, obviously, nobody expected all the whiplash and how fast everything was going to be changed and whatnot. So I agree. There's going to be there with the economist this morning. Even though I didn't hear him, I think there's going to be some good days ahead of for the economy in America. I think we're doing well for the uncertainty that's happened this past year. But I think just in general, people want it to be everything to be settled and
Yeah.
consistent, right? Because they're trying to make plans, they're trying to make investments and everything. And in my opinion, you can start to feel that transition come back, right? And to people starting to get a little more comfortable with what's going on. So yeah, that's what we've experienced.
It just feels like everyone. When you say that flat, but everyone is doing good. It's good, but that uncertainty has held back great,
Yeah.
right?
Well, in my opinion too, the economy was doing quite well from after everybody got used to COVID, I
Right.
guess,
Yeah.
until here recently. So, I don't think it's doing as good, right?
As
And
good,
I think
yeah.
that's why people are
noticing.
The talk this morning was he showed an interesting graph where it was showing optimism and post Trump coming in, right? Oh, he's a business guy. He's going to help
Yeah.
business guys. It's going to be a better tax environment. It's going to be a better capital environment. And so like there was this shot up, and then what was it, Liberation Day, when the tariffs all came in,
Yeah.
and it like shot down. And he had a 6 month predictor, and he had like the actual predictor, and they're lining out to be flat. So it's interesting how much sentiment plays into that, and people are like, the uncertainty really
Yeah.
is what's going to happen, so we can make some decisions, right?
Right.
That's really what's like throttling
And after a
back.
while, they get tired of being uncertain, so they just start making decisions anyway.
Yeah.
It feels
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's all feel, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
it does.
it used to be you'd get 25 basis points or 50 basis points in the interest rates. People would feel better one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
And now when it happens, it's not enough to move the needle because there's not enough demand. And so, for us, when you look at the steel index, for example, when you look at the futures market, everything's really, really stable. Last time there was tariffs put on, domestically, they took a chunk of that because they knew it was a free 10 or 15%, right? Because that was the charge to the tariffs. This time, that hasn't that uncertainty and that fluctuation in steel hasn't happened because there hasn't been enough demand. So why has there not been enough demand? Well, if we look at all the verticals we're in, if we look at storage, interest rates are too high. People are not transitory, right?
Right.
Because they don't want to give up their 2% to go get a 7%
Right.
mortgage.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
if you're in an apartment complex, you can't buy a house because you don't want to pay 7%.
Right.
So that market's moving differently. So, unlike previous bumps in the road in the economy, I'll say, there's loads of capital. There's loads of money. Before, when we've had slowdowns or flat or uncertainty, there's been a capital issue, but there's plenty of capital. So where we see the win is our bigger REITs and our bigger customers that have gone out, raised money, and are deploying money. Those guys are winning the game all day long. The guys that have to go and find the money, either through traditional banking systems or friends and family rounds or stuff like that, people aren't near as apt to give money to put into investments right now because of the uncertainty.
Right.
Right, but the guys that have the gold are making the rules right now, and they're winning the event.
Nigel brought up a conversation I had at FabTech, and that was with a lender, a financier of equipment, and they were talking to me about how through the right after Liberation Day and that period, it was hard to go finance equipment because all the banks were shifting around what the asset value was.
Right.
Right? Because there's some equipment in stock that has a significant less value than this new equipment that's coming in. So who's taking that liability there, right? Now the value has changed, so now the
Right.
equity part has changed, right? And the liability's changed. So yeah,
Wow.
it's to your point about capital. The capital's there, but everybody's just trying to figure out how to play within the new rules,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
and you can't. Most people can't go out and get the capital at 5 or 7 points, right? I mean, it just doesn't work that way, right? So, especially when you've come off the ultimate lowest of low rates that we've ever seen as well. So when you get the sugar high of eating money at 1.5 or 2 points, you want to go get all that you can. Then all of a sudden there's a shock to the system,
Yeah.
and it's now 5. It changes your perception, your feel
Right.
about how you see business and how you're going to go against business. So, are you putting money into capex? Are you putting in the new? Does it go new equipment? Does it go investing into your people? Do you have to cover more health insurance costs now to keep your people ready for the next rise? I mean, there's so much complexity that arises around the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nigel has got a great point about like the sugar rush, right? And historically, like rates are like, oh, okay. Like if you look and pull it back, like, oh, okay, well, it's not that bad, guys. Like, but we had QE for so long. We had this cheap, fast, easy, sloshy money that people and the players that made, went and got the money, went and got the equipment, even just a couple of years ago, are now in a liability financial standpoint better than a guy walking onto MetalCon floor today saying, ooh, Am I going to buy that machine at how many points? Oh, I
Yeah.
got to finance that bad boy. And is the bank even going to let me? Right.
Right.
And what other means of equipment leasing and how that looks eats into their ability to make those strategic moves. Now, it's still a great time to get into metal, and the investments you make here, even today, are fantastic, right? There's such an opportunity in metal as a whole that people who are getting in today are still going to do very well and are going to be able to build great businesses and take advantage
Mhm.
of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that everything you said there is correct. And I said earlier that I feel like it's starting to smooth out a little bit.
Yeah.
And just things like, the new tax bill, the big beautiful bill. They extended the Section 179 out and actually increased the dollar amount of the bonus depreciation, right? So it's in there, right? But
Yeah.
there's just been so much over the last year where people are just now figuring everything out. It seems like
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, now we can make a comfortable decision, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's
And a little bit of the screw it, we got to move on. Let's
we just
go.
got to go.
Yeah,
We just
there's a
got to
big
go.
part of that
Yeah.
too. Like, depending on what you do for a business. If you're a
Right.
developer, you got to start developing, and you got to just accept the new reality to the world you're living in, and you got to move forward, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it's super complex. I think by design, there's a lot of shock and awe in this year. I think the jolt to the system had to happen. There had to be significant change, perhaps. I think rip the band-aid off, get it all out of the way, and then the chips are going to fall where they fall
Yeah.
right from that point on. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. On our side of it, we've had as much opportunity to look at projects, to bid on projects as we've had over the last 5 years. Those projects just haven't matured and moved on to the next evolution. So developers have taken numbers, they've got stuff together, they're working financing or term sheets or whatever it is, and they're not releasing the next step down in hopes that I think things will get a little better, either money, cost of money wise, or just smooth out the economy a little bit.
Yeah. And it's interesting. One point I want to make, and then I'm going to start wrapping this up, but is in talking to the businesses, to your point, what you said early, Anthony, and you said it also, Nigel, is that it seems like the companies that are willing to take some risks and who are retaining their talent, have systems and processes in place, know their numbers, know their bottom lines, are really doing well. They have backlogs. They're seeing a lot of things, and then there's companies that have kind of just been riding the easy money or the demand since COVID, and we're hearing they're not doing so well. And so, really, that know your business and put your business in order and make sure it's all going is from what we're hearing and what we're seeing is paying off across the board.
Yeah, I mean, it's the cycle, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get fat and happy, and you gotta, slim down and tighten the belt a little bit and make sure you're in control.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to add revenue in good times and grow fast and enjoy that. But you got to stay buttoned up and
Make it all happen.
right.
I
right.
know. Okay, so as we get towards the end here, which we are getting there, gentlemen, this has gone so fast. I love it, even with the announcements and the award winners in the middle. I do want to talk just real quick about the importance of being involved and being involved with your associations, being involved coming to MetalCon, being involved on the Metal Coffee Shop, just the sense of community and how important it is. And actually, Chandler, I'm going to start with you because I know you are resigning as president of MCA, but you have been with MCA for so many years. You have done so much great work. Talk to us a little bit about why people should be getting involved and why they should be, as we rise our profession and this industry, it takes all of us.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I am stepping down as chair as MCA because I've been promoted and be going over and spending a large amount of time over the next year in Europe.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting. At the same time, I still will be on the executive committee and be heavily involved in the association.
Awesome.
And the reason being is because I believe in it. Right? It's to be honest with you, sometimes I sit in the MCA meetings and the conversations, and I'm trying to keep up, right? Because they're talking about substrates and codes and standards and installation and practices and all that. But just as we talked about today, and sorry, and all that goes over my head because I'm in the machinery world, right? But just as we talk about today, it's about the quality of the products and the installations, right? We can make the greatest innovations with the coolest vibrant colors and the neatest, custom profiles that an architect drew up, and the best ACM panels in the world to go on a roof or on a building. But if it's not installed correctly, guess what? Now we got egg on our face, right?
Right.
Now they're not going to spec that on another building. So it's so important that we continue with the momentum of metal to make sure that quality is there
Yeah.
and continue to innovate, right? And make
Right.
sure, because the competitive industries aren't going to sit back and say, oh, look, metal's taking our market share. That's great, right?
Yeah.
They're going to innovate also.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm going to just say it. It's fun,
Yeah.
right? It's a
It
fun
is fun.
industry.
It is fun.
I really enjoy the people of the MCA, enjoy MetalCon. I'm glad I did this. Anthony
Yeah.
was in a course, a little class that Larry and myself did earlier today. And you meet so many more people. And now next MetalCon, I'll, know you and come up and talk to you and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Pretty cool.
yeah, it's just, it's networking.
Yeah.
It's fun and it's networking. And now you know who to reach out to with a question, even if it's outside of your niche of the industry.
Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah, I would say, the evolution that I've seen in the industry over 30 years has been measured. I would say it hasn't been on a massive trajectory, although it's moving quicker. And what's important is the industry reputation. So when I see it from, as you pointed out, from the installer side, right? If you've got installers that aren't trained and you have leaky roofs, it's detrimental to the industry as a whole, not just the installer or the package. It's everybody inside the building that's getting a bad name for, metal roofs leak all the time because they're not installed properly. So training folks, right? Training people how to proper techniques, right? And managing the reputation of metal is really everybody's responsibility. So, the rising tide floats all boats, and we go back to the competition breeds excellence. We should embrace that, and we should promote that, and we should want people coming in and learning and wanting to know how to do it correctly, because if it's done, incorrectly, it only takes a minute to damage that reputation. And as a whole, metal hasn't had a great reputation as a roofing product. It's getting much better because of industry standards and warranties and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But the push needs to be continue to keep pushing in on training and understanding and the whys of you do things to make a predictable outcome.
Yeah. That's excellent. Excellent.
Well, in our case, new relationships, search for new opportunities, new business focused, and get to know new companies like yours, and have a better relationship to see any opportunities that might arise. We're there for you guys. So yeah.
That's so cool. You've been coming to MetalCon for a while.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell me why you keep coming back and why it's so important.
Well, like we started off the conversation, the community, right? And communities like Metal Coffee Shop, Roofers Coffee Shop, the MCA, and Nigel and Chandler's point, we got to do it as a community, right? And we gotta drive excellence. We got to use innovative products. We got to use technology, and really just come together to represent, like, what we're doing all day every day,
Yeah.
right? And so having folks, and platforms like this to do those things, it just makes it awesome.
And, we got to tell our story. I think, to be 100% honest, when I first got into this many years ago, it was all about, I thought I wanted to be able to tell my dad's story, who was a general contractor, and show his jobs and show how special they are. And I think when we come to these kind of events, when we all show up and show the work and show the craftsmanship, I think that is what really, I'm getting myself I'm like, That's just what brings it all together. And it's because of all of you. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here today. Invaluable for the industry, all of your advice and your wisdom. So thank you so much.
Thanks for the
Good.
opportunity.
Very welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
And thank you all for watching. Wow. I mean, talk about great information. You are in the know now going into 2026. If you weren't able to make it to MetalCon, make sure you put it on your list for next year. We'll be seeing you soon.